My boss said I'd be gone by Friday, but Thursday afternoon he got a phone call. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but mine was calculated, methodical, and absolutely devastating. Monday morning arrived like any other day, except it wasn't. I walked into the office with my usual coffee, nodding at familiar faces. Then my boss, Graham, called me into his glass office. The entire team could see us through those transparent walls. He leaned back in his leather chair, that smirk spreading across his face like poison. "Enjoy your week," he said loud enough for everyone to hear. "You'll be gone by Friday." The room erupted in nervous laughter. My heart pounded against my ribs. Heat flooded my cheeks as every eye in the office watched my humiliation unfold in real time. I stood there frozen, unable to form words. Graham dismissed me with a wave of his hand, already turning to his computer. I walked back to my desk on shaking legs, past coworkers who suddenly found their keyboards fascinating. That moment changed everything. The burning shame in my chest transformed into something colder, sharper. My revenge had just begun. The weekly team meeting that afternoon became my public execution. Graham stood at the head of the conference table, clicking through slides that blamed me for a failed contract. Every accusation was a lie. I'd warned him months ago about the client's concerns, but he'd ignored me. Now he rewrote history with confident precision. "This kind of negligence costs us millions," he declared, gesturing toward me. I opened my mouth to defend myself, to show the emails proving my warnings. He cut me off immediately. "Excuses won't save your job." My colleagues stared at their notepads. The cameras mounted in the corners recorded everything for company records. 20 people witnessed my character assassination, and not one spoke up. I sat there, hands clenched under the table, watching Graham destroy my reputation with practiced ease. He'd done this before, I realized. I wouldn't be his last victim unless I did something. Silence filled the room after he finished. I stood up slowly, gathered my papers, and left without a word. If you're enjoying this story so far, please take a moment to like this story, and also hit the subscribe button to get notified of our new series. Human Resources called me at 3 o'clock. My termination meeting was scheduled for Friday at 9 in the morning. The HR representative's voice was clinical, emotionless. "Please prepare to return all company property," she instructed. I hung up and stared at my computer screen. My career was ending in 4 days. Years of hard work, late nights, sacrificed weekends, all erased by one man's ambition. I started packing my personal items into a cardboard box when something caught my eye. Graham had left his office door open, and his computer screen glowed with an unlocked document. Confidential markings blazed across the top. It was a major client deal, the Anderson account worth $3 million. The numbers looked wrong. I glanced around quickly. Everyone was focused on their own survival, avoiding my gaze. I pulled out my phone and snapped several clear photos of the screen. Graham returned just as I pocketed my phone. He didn't notice. That oversight would cost him everything. Lunch came, but I had no appetite. I sat in the break room, pushing salad around my plate. 2 coworkers, Marcus and Diane, whispered at the adjacent table. They thought I couldn't hear them. "Graham takes credit for everything," Marcus said quietly. "Remember that quarterly report last month? That was her work entirely." Diane nodded. "He's been doing it for years. Shady commissions, too. I've seen the paperwork." My fork stopped midway to my mouth. I'd been building Graham's success all along, feeding him my ideas while he climbed higher on my shoulders. Every promotion he received, every bonus, every accolade was stolen from people like me. The photo on my phone suddenly felt heavier, more significant. It wasn't just evidence of one mistake. It was the first weapon in an arsenal I was about to build. I finished my lunch in silence, mind racing with possibilities. Graham had made one critical error. He'd given me nothing left to lose. That night, I stayed late at the office. Most people had left by 6. Graham departed at 5:30, laughing loudly on his phone about weekend golf plans. I sat at my desk in the dimming light and started collecting everything. Old emails where Graham ordered me to falsify progress reports. Voice recordings on my phone from his screaming tirades about impossible deadlines. Spreadsheets showing how he manipulated quarterly numbers to inflate his performance metrics. I created a folder on an encrypted flash drive and titled it simply, Friday. Every insult became another file. Every lie, another piece of evidence. The audit trail was damning. Graham had been running a sophisticated scheme, taking credit for team achievements while burying their mistakes under junior employees' names. By midnight, I had 3 years of documentation. My eyes burned from the computer screen's glow. My hands trembled from exhaustion and adrenaline. But I smiled for the first time that day. Knowledge is power, they say. I just armed myself for war. Sleep refused to come that night. I lay in bed, staring at my ceiling, watching car headlights sweep across the plaster. Anger had transformed into something more dangerous, cold calculation. I grabbed my notebook from the nightstand and began sketching a plan under the lamplight. Monday, observe Graham's patterns and routines. Tuesday, gather additional evidence and document everything. Wednesday, secure allies who've also suffered under him. Thursday, strike with precision and timing. By Friday, Graham would be the one clearing out his desk, not me. The plan felt right, balanced like a perfectly weighted scale. I wrote notes in the margins, contingencies for every scenario. What if HR protected him? What if the board dismissed my evidence? I needed more than documents. I needed witnesses, recordings, undeniable proof. The clock read 3 in the morning when I finally closed the notebook. 4 days remained. 4 days to dismantle a man who thought himself untouchable. If you're enjoying this story so far, please take a moment to like this story and also hit the subscribe button to get notified of our new series. Tuesday morning brought an unexpected gift. Lena, the new intern, caught me reviewing documents in the archive room. She was young, maybe 23, with nervous energy and dark circles under her eyes. "You're looking into Graham?" she whispered, glancing at the doorway. I nodded carefully. She pulled out her phone, hands shaking slightly. "He's been forcing me to work unpaid overtime for 3 months. 60, 70-hour weeks. He said if I complained, he'd make sure I never worked in this industry again." Her voice cracked. "I have texts, emails, everything." She showed me her phone. The evidence was perfect, irrefutable proof of labor law violations. I looked at this brave young woman who'd endured months of abuse. "Can I copy these?" I asked gently. She nodded. "Please. Someone needs to stop him." We shook hands in that dusty archive room, 2 people united by Graham's cruelty. My team had just grown. I wasn't alone anymore. Together, we'd have twice the ammunition and twice the resolve. Wednesday afternoon, Graham summoned me again. I walked into his office with my head high, though my pulse raced. He leaned back in his expensive chair, sipping imported coffee from his personalized mug. "Start packing, hero," he said with casual cruelty. "I've already told HR you forged data on the Morrison account." The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Forged data meant criminal charges, not just termination. He was trying to destroy me completely. I stared straight into his eyes, refusing to blink. "Then you won't mind if I double-check that data myself," I said calmly. "For accuracy." Something flickered across his face. Uncertainty, maybe fear. He recovered quickly. Too late. HR has my report. I nodded and left his office. What Graham didn't know was that I'd already cloned his reports, every single one, along with the original templates showing my name as the author. His forgery accusation would backfire spectacularly. He'd just handed me another weapon. That evening, I worked through the files with methodical precision. Buried in the financial records, I discovered something explosive, an internal audit from 6 months ago. Graham had diverted funds to a fake supplier called Westbrook Consulting. The payments totaled over $200,000. The supplier didn't exist. The bank account traced back to a shell company registered under Graham's brother's name. It was fraud, the kind that didn't just end careers but resulted in prison sentences. I sat back in my chair, heart pounding. This was bigger than workplace bullying or stolen credit. This was embezzlement, wire fraud, conspiracy. I encrypted everything onto the flash drive, adding this nuclear evidence to my growing arsenal. I labeled a new folder, Thursday Call, and backed everything up to 3 separate cloud accounts. If Graham wanted to play dirty, I'd bury him so deep he'd never see daylight again. Justice was 48 hours away. Thursday morning started with chaos. A junior staff member, Kyle, struggled with the printer near Graham's office. Paper jammed, ink smeared, the machine beeped angry protests. Graham exploded from his office like a storm. "Are you completely useless?" he screamed at Kyle. The entire floor went silent. Graham grabbed a thick file from Kyle's hands and hurled it across the office. Papers scattered everywhere. Kyle's face turned red with humiliation. "Get out of my sight," Graham snarled. I pulled out my phone under my desk and hit record. The entire tirade was captured in crystal-clear audio, every threat and insult preserved digitally. Graham's mask was slipping. His carefully maintained professional facade cracked under pressure, revealing the bully underneath. Other employees had stopped working, watching the scene with wide eyes. Some looked angry. Others appeared frightened. All of them would remember this moment. I saved the video with timestamp and location data. Evidence was piling up like storm clouds. The downpour would come tomorrow. If you're enjoying this story so far, please take a moment to like this story and also hit the subscribe button to get notified of our new series. At 11 o'clock, Human Resources sent another email. My inbox pinged with cold corporate efficiency. Any further disruption will result in immediate termination, the message read. Graham was tightening the noose, turning HR into his personal weapon. He'd convinced them I was the problem, poisoning the well before I could defend myself. I smiled at my computer screen. What Graham didn't know was that I'd already accessed HR's internal complaint database through a shared drive most people forgot existed. Dozens of staff members had filed grievances against Graham over 3 years. Sexual harassment from 2 female employees. Discrimination complaints. Hostile work environment reports. HR had buried every single one, protecting their golden boy who brought in big contracts. I downloaded everything, adding it to my flash drive. When this exploded, HR wouldn't just lose Graham. They'd face a lawsuit that would cost the company millions. Sometimes revenge serves justice to multiple deserving parties. I needed one more piece of insurance. During the afternoon coffee break, I approached Graham's desk with my usual cup. Accidentally, I bumped his cabinet, spilling coffee across his pristine workspace. "I'm so sorry," I exclaimed, grabbing napkins. Graham cursed, but let me help clean up. While I wiped the wood surface, my other hand slipped a tiny recording device under his cabinet. The gadget was voice-activated, purchased that morning from an electronics store. Within hours, it captured something beautiful. Graham's colleague, Stephen, stopped by around 4 o'clock. "So, Friday's the day?" Stephen asked. Graham laughed, his voice dripping with satisfaction. "By Friday, that loser's gone. Then I'll sign the Anderson deal under my name. $3 million commission, all mine." Stephen whistled. "You're taking all the credit again?" "Like I always do," Graham boasted. I retrieved the recorder that evening after everyone left. His confession was perfect, clear, undeniable. He'd just admitted to fraud on tape. Wednesday's all-hands meeting felt like theater. Graham stood before the company, announcing a new $1 million client deal with triumphant energy. The Anderson account, my work, my research, my late nights, was presented as his singular achievement. The CEO congratulated him personally. Everyone applauded. I sat in the back row, hands pressed together, pretending to smile while fury burned through my veins. Graham caught my eye across the room and smirked. He thought he'd won. He believed tomorrow's termination would erase me from company history. What he couldn't see was the email I drafted on my phone during his speech. The Anderson client would receive it tonight, along with every piece of evidence proving Graham's falsifications. I'd suggest they verify the documents carefully before signing anything. "Check your numbers before Thursday," I'd write. By tomorrow's 3 o'clock meeting, Graham's world would collapse. The applause finally died down. I stood and left the auditorium. 30 hours remained. That night, I sat in my apartment with a glass of wine and my laptop. The email to Anderson's CEO was carefully worded, professional but urgent. I attached the data trail showing Graham's falsifications, inflated projections, manipulated timelines, fabricated testimonials from clients who'd never been contacted. The evidence spoke for itself. I'm reaching out as the lead researcher on the Anderson proposal, I wrote. Before you finalize the contract, I believe you should verify certain claims made in the presentation. Your company deserves accurate information. I included my personal phone number and email. Then I attached a compressed file containing the original reports with my name on them, compared against Graham's plagiarized versions. My finger hovered over the send button. This was the point of no return. Once sent, Graham would know someone had betrayed him. But he'd already betrayed me first. I clicked send. The email disappeared into the night. Sleep came easier this time, dreamless and deep. Thursday morning arrived with deceptive calm. Sunlight streamed through office windows. Coffee machines gurgled. People chatted about normal things. Weekend plans, television shows, weather predictions. Graham arrived at 8:30, unusually cheerful. He wore his best suit, the charcoal one reserved for important clients. He walked through the office like a king surveying his kingdom. Big call at 3 o'clock today, he announced to anyone listening. Game changer for the company. He winked at several colleagues. His confidence was absolute, unshakable. He didn't know that Anderson's CEO had spent the morning reviewing my email, cross-referencing every claim, discovering the truth. He didn't know his phone would ring in 6 hours with devastating news. I arrived at my desk, organized my few remaining belongings, and waited. The clock ticked forward. Each minute brought Graham closer to destruction. I'd never been more patient in my life. At 2:30, Graham invited the entire leadership team to the main conference room. The CEO attended, the CFO, the Vice President of Operations. Even the board chairman dialed in remotely. I want everyone to witness this triumph, Graham declared, setting up his laptop. The contract with Anderson was worth $3 million, the biggest deal of the quarter. Graham needed witnesses for his glory. I was asked to attend as well, to take notes. Perfect. I'd have a front row seat to his downfall. I sat in the corner with my notebook, the flash drive hidden in my blazer pocket. The room buzzed with anticipation. Graham connected the video call equipment, adjusting cameras and microphones. He practiced his opening remarks, confident and smooth. The CEO smiled, expecting good news. The clock read 2:55. 5 minutes remained. I wrote in my notebook, "Some moments change everything." This would be one of them. At 2:58, Graham's expression changed. He clicked frantically on his laptop, then again. "The presentation file won't open," he muttered. He tried different folders, different programs. Nothing worked. Panic crept into his voice. "Someone get IT in here," he barked. The IT specialist arrived, typing commands, running diagnostics. "The file's corrupted," she said, confused. "There's a ghost version here, but it's password protected." Graham's face reddened. What ghost version? I knew exactly what it was. The file I'd planted last night, replacing his plagiarized presentation with the original documents showing my authorship. The password was impossible to crack in 2 minutes. The IT specialist shrugged helplessly. "I can restore from backup, but it'll take 20 minutes. "We don't have 20 minutes," Graham shouted. The clock hit 3. The conference room phone rang. Everyone froze. Graham stared at it like it might explode. The CEO gestured for him to answer. Graham picked up the receiver, his hand trembling slightly. "This is Graham," he said, voice strained. The voice on the speaker was cold, professional, and absolutely lethal. "Mr. Graham, this is Anderson speaking. Before we proceed, can you explain these discrepancies in your reports?" The room temperature seemed to drop. Graham's confident smile flickered like a dying light. "Discrepancies? I'm not sure what you mean." Anderson's voice hardened. "The timeline you provided doesn't match the original research dates. The cost projections are inflated by 30%. Several client testimonials reference companies we've confirmed were never contacted." Silence filled the conference room. Every executive's eyes locked onto Graham. The CEO's expression shifted from expectation to confusion to anger in seconds. Graham stammered, "There must be some mistake." "I can explain. Can you also explain why the original reports have a different author?" Anderson interrupted. "We received documentation this morning showing substantial discrepancies between your presentation and the actual research conducted." Graham's face turned white. His hands gripped the table edge. He looked around desperately, seeking allies. Everyone stared back with dawning comprehension. I wrote calmly in my notebook, recording every word. Anderson's voice filled the conference room with finality. By the time Graham reached HR's office, the director would already be reviewing the files. Multiple investigations would launch simultaneously. Criminal charges would follow. Graham thought he faced a professional setback. He was about to discover he'd committed career suicide. 30 minutes later, security escorted Graham back into the office. His face was ashen, his expensive suit rumpled. He walked like a broken man, but his eyes held rage.
"They landed on me at my desk."
He stopped abruptly, causing the security guards to pause. "You did this," he hissed across the office. Everyone watching turned to me. I stood slowly, meeting his glare with calm certainty. "You said I'd be gone by Friday." I replied clearly, letting everyone hear. "Looks like you're early." His mouth opened, closed. Security pulled him forward. "Sir, we need you to clear your desk immediately," one guard said firmly. Graham's office was a flurry of activity. HR representatives boxed his belongings. IT specialists wiped his computer. The company lawyer stood in the corner, documenting everything. Graham's career was ending in real time, faster and more thoroughly than mine ever would have. He grabbed a cardboard box, shoving items inside with shaking hands. 30 minutes ago, he'd been untouchable. Now he was escorted from the building like a common thief. Graham's office was completely cleared within an hour. The nameplates came down. The awards disappeared. Even his coffee mug was taken as potential evidence. Rumors spread through the company like wildfire. Embezzlement. Falsified records. Fraud investigation. Several employees mentioned the FBI might get involved. The company's legal team worked frantically to contain the damage. Human Resources called an emergency meeting. They reversed my termination immediately, calling it a regrettable misunderstanding based on incomplete information. The HR director personally apologized, though her eyes held resentment. She knew I'd exposed their complicity in burying complaints. The company would face consequences beyond losing Graham. By 4 o'clock, the entire office knew the truth. Graham had been stealing credit, manipulating records, and embezzling funds for years. I was vindicated completely. Colleagues approached my desk with apologies and congratulations. Lena hugged me, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "You saved all of us." I smiled, exhausted but satisfied. One tyrant down. Justice served. If you're enjoying this story so far, please take a moment to like this story and also hit the subscribe button to get notified of our new series. Friday morning, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. I answered cautiously. "This is Anderson," the voice said. "We've reviewed the original research documentation you sent." "Impressive work." My heart raced. "Thank you. We're disappointed in your company's practices, but we don't want to lose the value of your research. Would you be interested in joining our team?" He outlined the position: Senior Compliance Manager, overseeing internal audits and contract integrity. The salary was double my current pay. The benefits were exceptional. The irony was poetic. I'd be managing contracts exactly like the one Graham tried to steal. "I need to give notice," I said carefully. Anderson laughed. "Under the circumstances, I think your current employer will be flexible. We'd like you to start in 2 weeks." I accepted immediately. After we hung up, I sat at my desk, stunned. Graham's attempt to destroy me had opened doors I'd never imagined. His cruelty had pushed me towards something better, bigger, more meaningful. Sometimes the universe has a sense of justice beyond our plans. Thursday evening, After the office had emptied, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. Please. Graham's voice cracked through the speaker. I need a character reference. They're blacklisting me everywhere. Silence stretched between us. 3 days ago, he'd smirked while announcing my termination. He'd humiliated me publicly, falsified accusations against me, tried to destroy my career permanently. Now he begged for mercy. Please, he repeated, voice hoarse. I have a family. Bills. I made mistakes, but I need another chance. I thought about Lena's unpaid overtime, Kyle's public humiliation, the dozens of HR complaints buried to protect Graham's profits. I thought about all the careers he'd damaged before mine. Sorry, Graham, I said calmly. You'll be gone by Friday. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. I declined the call, then blocked the number. Some people don't deserve second chances. Some people need to face the full consequences of their actions. Graham had built his success on others' suffering. Now he'd rebuild his life from nothing, just like he'd forced so many others to do. Friday morning arrived with golden sunshine. I dressed carefully, professionally, for what would be my last day at this company. I walked through the office, past desks where colleagues waved and smiled. I approached Graham's former office at the end of the hallway. The door stood open. His nameplate was gone, leaving only mounting holes in the wall. The expensive furniture remained, but the walls were bare. No awards, no photographs, no evidence Graham had ever existed here. The company was erasing him systematically, protecting themselves from association with fraud. I stepped inside, setting my coffee on the desk. The chair was his old chair, the one he'd leaned back in while destroying people's lives. It fit me perfectly. I sipped my coffee slowly, looking out the window at the city below. Enjoy your weekend, Graham, I whispered to the empty office. Justice hadn't just been served. It had been delivered with precision, timing, and absolute certainty. They tried to make me disappear by Friday. Instead, I'd made them disappear. And I'd never felt more powerful in my life.